Marcus, before we get into anything, I want to start where this really lives. Last year, you made $226,600 as an airline pilot. Basically dream money on paper. And you told me, word for word, I miss real life. What did you mean by that?
I meant, I can afford a lot of things now, and I'm still starving for the stuff that used to be free. Like, I've eaten steak in a place where they bring you a tiny fork on a plate bigger than my torso, and then I've gone back to a hotel room and sat on the edge of the bed in a uniform that still smells like airplane coffee, watching my kid's bedtime through a phone screen. And it's not even dramatic like a movie. It's quiet. It's the silence that gets you. I made $226,600 last year, yeah. And on Christmas Eve, I was alone in a Marriott off an airport highway, listening to the room next door laugh through the wall like my life was happening somewhere else.
That image is brutal. Because people hear airline pilot and they picture you in the front of the plane, sunglasses, confidence, money. They don't picture vending machine dinner on Christmas Eve. Take me into that night. Why were you there?
We were supposed to be home. That's the part that still makes me laugh, like a tired laugh. It was a 4-day trip. We had the last leg into New York, into John F. Kennedy, JFK, and the weather went sideways. You get a hold, then you get a reroute, then you get expect further clearance, and you can feel the whole airplane's mood change behind the cockpit door. By the time we landed, we were illegal for the next part, meaning by the rules, we're done. So the company finds a hotel, buses us out, and suddenly you're not a dad, you're not a husband, you're just a guy with a roller bag in a lobby full of other crews trying not to look disappointed. I FaceTimed my wife in the elevator because I didn't want the other guys to hear me, and my daughter was excited about cookies, and my son was showing me a toy, and I'm smiling like it's fine. And when the call ends, you realize you were holding your breath the whole time.
In the first 60 seconds of this conversation, you've already shown the paradox. You're making what most people would call made it money, and you're having the loneliest Christmas Eve imaginable. Let's ground people quickly. You're not 22 and single doing a cool job. Who are you? Where do you live? What's your life?
I'm 38. I live in Astoria, Queens, which sounds romantic until you're dragging suitcases up 3 flights of stairs. I've been flying professionally 13 years. I'm a captain on an Airbus A320 family at a major airline. I'm based in New York, so most of my work starts or ends at JFK or LaGuardia. I'm married. My wife Elena is the actual spine of our family. We've got 2 kids. Sophia is 10, Mateo is 6. And my whole life is a calendar that I'm constantly negotiating with, because the airline calendar wins more than I'd like to admit.
You said, the airline calendar wins. That is such a clean sentence. Before we even get to the emotions, just on money, 226,600 is a big number. But New York has a way of shrinking big numbers. What does your life actually cost?
Yeah, New York is like, it eats money and then asks for dessert. Our rent is $3,400 a month for a 2-bedroom. It's not a penthouse. It's a normal place with a weird corner in the living room that you can't fit furniture into. Childcare was the real hit when they were little. Now it's after-school stuff, camp deposits, the million tiny payments that don't look like much until you add them up. And the part nobody thinks about is the pilot costs. Parking, union dues, random uniform pieces, the meals you buy when the per diem doesn't cover real food, and time. Time is the most expensive thing, and that one you can't pay off.
What do you actually take home? Not in a spreadsheet way, just what hits the account after taxes and everything?
Roughly 11, 5 a month, give or take. Some months it's better if there's profit sharing or if I flew premium trips. But it's not like you just get a suitcase of money. A lot of it is tied to hours, to bidding, to how much you're willing to be away. And that's the trap. If you want more, the easiest lever to pull is your presence at home.
Okay, so it's not just pilot makes a lot. It's pilot makes a lot when pilot trades time. Walk me through a normal workday. If I'm sitting on my couch thinking your life is just pushing buttons and landing in cool cities, what's the real day?
The day starts before the day starts. If I've got a report time of, say, 8 a.m., I'm up at 5. Not because I love mornings, because you're doing weather, NOTAMs, route stuff, checking the release, seeing if the airplane is even the same tail number you thought it was. You get to the airport and it's already a negotiation. Security, employee line, gate changes, a maintenance note that's probably fine, but you still have to read it like your life depends on it. Because it does. Then there's the human side. You meet your first officer, you meet the flight attendants, and you're doing this little dance of, are we good today? Because you might be flying with someone you've never met. And then the door closes, and you're responsible for 200 people who are mostly thinking about their headphones and their emails. And you're thinking about crosswinds and de-icing, and whether your tired brain is going to miss something obvious.
That last part matters. Because people will hear you say tired brain and think you're being dramatic. But there are actual federal rules about rest for pilots for a reason. Do you feel like those rules match real life?
The rules are necessary, and they're not magic. You can be legal and still be wrecked. You can get your 10 hours of rest on paper, but by the time you get to the hotel, eat, decompress, call home, and then actually fall asleep, you're not getting 10 hours of sleep. You're getting a slice of it. And the schedule doesn't care about your circadian rhythm. Your body doesn't know what day it is. Your kids do. Your wife does. So you end up living in this weird space where you're always trying to recover, and your recovery time is the same time your family wants you present.
What's the first thing that slips? Is it sleep? Is it food? Is it patience? What goes first?
Patience. 100%. Sleep makes you stupid in a way you don't notice. You think you're fine, you think you're sharp, and then someone asks you a simple question, and you feel your temper flare like a match. And at work, you can't do that. You have to be calm. You have to be the adult in the room no matter what. So you hold it in. Then you come home, and your kid spills juice, and your body goes, finally, a safe place to fall apart, and you hate yourself for it. Because you didn't yell at the passenger who screamed at the gate agent, but you raised your voice at a 6-year-old over apple juice.
That's such a specific kind of guilt. So early on, when you were climbing to this salary, to this captain seat, did you feel it coming? Or did it sneak up on you?
It sneaks up because the dream is loud. When you're young in aviation, everyone talks about the majors like it's heaven. You're broke, you're building hours, you're eating ramen, you're sharing apartments with roommates who smell like jet fuel and despair, and you're telling yourself, just get through this part. I started at a regional, and I don't romanticize it. The pay was rough, the schedule was worse, and I spent a lot of nights in something called a crash pad, which is basically a bunk bed apartment near the airport where grown adults live like college kids because they need to be close to base. You think the suffering is temporary. You don't realize you're also training yourself to accept a life where you're not home.
Explain crash pad life for people who have never heard that word. Because it sounds like a fun pilot hack, and the way pilots talk about it online, it sounds more like survival.
A crash pad is what happens when rent is too expensive and you need a place to sleep between trips. So you've got a 2-bedroom apartment with like 8 dudes in it. There are bunk beds, people rotate, somebody's always coming in at 2 a.m., someone's always leaving at 4 a.m. There's a fridge full of half-labeled food and a smell that's a mix of cologne, leftover takeout, and exhaustion. And you're doing it because you're on reserve, so you don't even know if you'll fly. You're just waiting. Waiting for scheduling to call, waiting for your phone to buzz, waiting for your life to start. I remember sitting on a couch that had no business being that sticky, watching the Weather Channel like it was a religion, because a thunderstorm in Atlanta could decide whether I slept in a bunk or got to see my wife for one extra night.
The way you said waiting for your life to start. I want to bring something in here because I've read pilots talking about this exact thing. Some of them say the airline life is actually easier than corporate flying because you don't clean the plane, you don't fuel it, you don't deal with customers directly. But the trade is you're owned by the schedule. Did you feel that trade-off?
Yeah, that's real. At the airline, my job is narrower, and that's a good thing for safety. I'm not loading bags, I'm not booking hotels for the boss, I'm not wiping fingerprints off the cabin. But the airline owns your time in chunks. You're either on duty, or you're commuting, or you're trying to sleep, or you're staring at your phone waiting for an assignment. So even when people say, you only work 12 days a month, I'm like, define work. Because my body is still living on airline time.
That's the contradiction right there. Let's talk about the dream money moment. The first time you saw a paycheck that made you go, oh, this is different. Where were you in your career?
First year at the major, as a first officer, I got a check that was bigger than my monthly pay at the regional. And I remember standing in the kitchen, Elena holding Mateo on her hip, and we're looking at the bank app like it's a magic trick. We were like, we can breathe. We paid down debt. We fixed stuff we'd been ignoring. We took my daughter to a dentist without doing the mental math of, okay, if insurance doesn't cover this, what bill doesn't get paid? It felt like safety. And I didn't realize how much I'd been living without safety until I finally had it.
So money gave you safety. But the title of this episode is basically, I make dream money and miss real life. When did you first notice you were losing real life?
It wasn't one big moment at first. It was a bunch of small thefts. Like, you miss a birthday party and you tell yourself, we'll do cake tomorrow. And then tomorrow you're sleeping because you flew a red eye and your head feels full of cotton. Or you're home, but you're not really home. You're sitting on the couch and your wife is talking about school forms and you keep checking the big packet because you're trying to get a better schedule next month. And then one day, Sophia is telling me about a friend drama and I realize she's explaining the characters to me like I'm new to the show. Like I just started watching her life in season 4.
That hits. What does your wife say? How does Elena describe what this job does to the family?
Elena is not dramatic. That's why when she says something, it lands like a brick. She told me once, it's not that you're gone, it's that when you come back, we have to adjust to you. And I hated hearing it because it was true. They get a rhythm without me. Dinner, homework, bedtime, the little rules in the house. Then I come home and I want to be dad. I want to help, but I don't know the updated rules. So I'm either stepping on her toes or I'm backing off and feeling useless. And either way, she's carrying the load.
Do you ever resent the job? Not in a I hate flying way, but in a this machine is taking something from me kind of way.
Yeah, and then I feel guilty for resenting it. Because I also love parts of it. I love the craft. I love being good at something that matters. I love a smooth approach into LaGuardia when the wind is doing that New York thing and you nail it, and you can feel the airplane settle like it's exhaling. But I resent the way the job expects you to be available, like your life is a shelf you can put back exactly where you found it. And the company doesn't mean it personally. That's the weird part. It's not personal. It's just numbers, airplanes, schedules, and you're the human part that gets bent to make it fit.
I want to talk about the physical toll. People think pilot and don't think injury, like you're not lifting drywall. But the body toll seems sneaky. Sleep, stress, sitting, airport food, time zones. What has it done to your body?
My body feels older than 38. My back gets tight from sitting in that seat for hours, even with the little stretches you do. My stomach is always negotiating with airport food. And there's this constant low-grade inflammation from not sleeping like a normal person. But the biggest thing is the nervous system. You're always in alert mode. Weather changes, ATC, mechanical issues, passenger medicals, tight connections, gates. Even when nothing is wrong, you're scanning for wrong. So when I come home, it's hard to turn off. My wife will say, just sit, and I can't. I'm pacing like I'm still waiting for a call.
Is that why you said you miss real life? Because real life isn't just being physically present. It's being mentally in the room.
Exactly. Real life is being bored at your kid's soccer practice and not needing to check your phone every 2 minutes. It's being the guy who can say, yeah, I'll drive, without thinking, if I get called early tomorrow, I can't. It's having a consistent day where you know what time you're going to eat dinner. I miss being predictable. My kids deserve predictable.
Okay, I want to gently push you here. Because there's another side people see. They see pilots online saying, I work 12 days a month, and I fly 1 or 2 legs, and I don't deal with customers, and I make hand over fist. That's real too. So why does it still feel like you're missing your life if, on paper, you're home half the month?
Because the days off aren't always yours. Sometimes you come off a trip and you need a full day just to feel human again. Not even to be fun, just to recover. So your day off becomes a recovery day, and your family is looking at you like, are you here with us or are you in a coma? And the working days, they're not like a 9 to 5 where you come home each night. A 4-day trip is 4 bedtimes you miss, 4 mornings you miss, 4 little arguments and jokes and hugs that don't happen. So you get this illusion of time off. It's a lot of time off, but it's also time off that comes in blocks that don't match real-life schedules.
Give me a specific example. A moment where you were technically off, but you weren't living.
I got home from a trip one morning, like 8 a.m., and Sophia had a school performance at 10. I promised I'd be there. I sat on the couch to rest my eyes for 20 minutes. I woke up at 1 p.m. with my uniform pants still on. Elena was washing dishes quietly, and Sophia was in her room. And I knew, without anyone saying it, I missed it. And the worst part is, my body did what it needed. It just shut off. So I couldn't even be mad at myself in a clean way. I was just sad.
What did Sophia say?
She didn't yell. That's the thing. She said, "It's okay, Dad. You're tired." Like she was the adult. And I remember thinking, I'm raising a kid who's learning to lower her expectations of me. That's not okay. That's not a cute moment. That's a warning light.
That's the kind of sentence that sits in your chest. Okay, take me to the breaking point. The moment where you couldn't keep telling yourself, this is fine. Where were you?
It was last winter. I remember because the air hurt when you breathed it. We had flown into Chicago the night before, and it was one of those hotel rooms where the heat is either Arctic or sauna, no middle. I slept like garbage. We show up the next morning, early report, and everything is delayed. De-icing line, gate swap, a maintenance item that takes longer than they thought. So the day is already stretched, and you can feel the margins getting thinner. We finally get airborne, and I'm in cruise, and it's quiet in that way airplanes get quiet. And I felt my body do this weird thing. My heart started thumping, not fast like excitement, but heavy, like it was punching my ribs. And my brain went, very calmly, if you pass out right now, there are 200 people back there who are going to pay for it.
That's terrifying. And you're in the seat. You're the captain. You can't just be a person having a moment. What did you do?
I did the pilot thing. I went to procedure. I took a breath. I checked myself. I asked my first officer for the radio while I focused on not spiraling. I did the little mental checklist. Am I hydrated? Did I eat? Is it caffeine? Is it anxiety? Is it something worse? But inside it was like a curtain ripped. Because I realized I'd been treating my body like it was a machine that could just comply. We landed. We parked. We did the post-flight stuff. And I walked into the terminal and sat on a bench like an old man, sweating under my jacket, trying not to scare anyone. And I thought, this job doesn't just take holidays. It might take my health.
Did you tell Elena?
Not right away, which is embarrassing to admit. I told her I was tired. I minimized it. Because there's this pilot culture of, don't be weak, don't be dramatic, don't give the company a reason to question you. But that night, I was home, and I was sitting at the kitchen table, and Elena looked at me and said, "Your eyes look wrong." And I told her. I said, "I think something is happening to me." And her face changed. Not panic, more like she'd been waiting for me to catch up to what she already knew.
What did she say?
She said, "I can't lose you to a job." And I know that sounds like a movie line, but it wasn't dramatic. It was quiet and flat, like a fact. Then she said something that really messed me up. She said, "The kids already share you with it. I'm not sharing your body too." That was the moment I realized I wasn't just missing their lives. I was putting myself on layaway.
So what happened after that? Doctor? Therapy? Did you step back from flying? What's the aftermath?
I went to a doctor, and the basic stuff was okay, which sounds relieving, but it also makes you go, so it's just me? Then I had to face the real culprit. Fatigue and stress and this constant up and down of sleep. I did a sleep study. I didn't want to. I thought it was for older guys. Turns out I have mild sleep apnea. Not the dramatic kind where you stop breathing for a minute, but enough that your sleep quality is trash even when you think you slept. And there's your surprise, right? Because the dream money has a leash, and the leash is your medical. If you can't pass your medical, you can't fly. If you can't fly, the whole financial story changes overnight.
That's the twist people don't think about. Your job isn't just a job. It's a license, a medical, a system that can shut off your income if your health slips. How did that change your relationship with work?
It made me scared, honestly. And then it made me angry at myself, because I realized I'd been acting like I was invincible. Like because the airplane is safe and the training is intense, I'm safe too. I started paying attention to how many pilots I know who live on coffee and denial. Guys with blood pressure meds in their flight bag. Guys who joke about being dead inside like it's funny. And I'm not judging them. I get it. The job rewards you for pushing through. But now I see the bill. The bill comes later, and it comes with interest.
Let's talk about the system. Because the public thinks pilots are the elite, and in some ways, you are. You have training most people can't imagine. You're trusted with $100 million machine and hundreds of lives. And at the same time, you're still a worker inside a schedule machine. What do you wish people understood about what work means in this job?
I wish people understood that I don't just show up and fly. There's decision-making all day that doesn't look dramatic. Do we take extra fuel? Do we divert? Do we wait out weather or go now? How do we manage a tired crew and still be sharp? And there's this emotional labor of being calm for everyone else. The flight attendants are dealing with somebody yelling about a bag, and you can feel it through the door. The passengers are anxious. The gate agent is stressed. You're the steady hand, even when you're not steady inside. Then you walk off the plane and you're supposed to turn into a normal dad in 10 minutes. That transition, that's where you lose people.
I want to ask something hard, and I'm not asking it to be dramatic. You've described missing performances, missing holidays, being absent even when you're home, health scares. And I can hear it in you. You're proud of what you do. So help me understand how those two things live together, pride and loss.
That's the real question. I am proud. I'm proud that I can take a jet full of strangers through bad weather and bring them home. I'm proud that I came from a regular Queens family and built something hard. But I also have grief, like real grief, not because someone died, but because certain versions of my family life never happened. There's a version where I'm at every school pickup. There's a version where Elena doesn't carry so much alone. There's a version where my body feels normal. And I have to sit with the fact that I chose this knowing, at some level, it would cost something. That's the part that makes it complicated. I'm not just a victim. I wanted this.
That's honesty. What's the part you love that still makes you say, yeah, I'd do it again?
The sky. I know that sounds corny, but it's true. There are mornings where you break out above a cloud layer and it's pink and gold, and the whole world looks soft, like it's forgiving you. There's also the teamwork. When you and your first officer are locked in, when you brief well, when you catch something small before it becomes a problem, it's satisfying in a deep way. And there's the pride of being competent. In a world where a lot of jobs feel abstract, this one is real. You do it right or you don't. The feedback is immediate. So yeah, I love it. And that's what makes the cost feel unfair sometimes, because the thing I love is also the thing that steals from me.
How does the money play into that? Because money is not nothing. Money changes stress. It changes options. It changes your kids' futures. Do you ever feel like you're buying their future while missing their present?
Yes, that sentence is exactly it. I'm funding a future version of them that I might not get to fully know. Like, I can put money into college savings. I can say yes to experiences. I can fix problems fast. But there's this fear that one day Sophia will be grown, and she'll be successful, and she'll say, "Thanks for everything." And inside I'll be thinking, I wish I had been there when you were 10. It's like you're investing in a house you don't live in.
Do your kids understand what you do? Not the "my dad flies planes" part, the cost part.
Sophia does, in her own way. She'll say things like, "Are you leaving again?" with this flat tone that's too mature. Mateo is still little, so he lives in the moment. He'll be mad for 10 minutes and then he'll show me a Lego like nothing happened. But the real indicator is what they don't do anymore. They don't run to the door as fast when I come home. Not always. Sometimes they do. Sometimes it's beautiful. Other times they glance up and go back to what they were doing. And I'm standing there with my bag like, I thought I was the main event. Turns out I'm a guest star.
That's a hard thing to say out loud. Okay, let's talk about the hidden costs that aren't emotional. The stuff people never consider. What do people get wrong about pilot money?
They think it's clean. They think it's a salary that just exists like a law of nature. But it's tied to seniority, to bidding, to being available. Early on, you pay with your life to get the hours, to get the upgrades, to get the better schedule. There's also the commute culture. Even though I live in base now, I did years of commuting. That means flights the night before, sleeping in a crash pad, leaving home on what's supposed to be a day off just to make sure you can start work. And you spend money trying to make the lifestyle tolerable. Better food, better mattress, therapy, gym membership you barely use, little conveniences because you're always short on time. So the paycheck is big, but it's not free. You pay in a lot of currencies.
I'm going to bring in one more real-world piece of context for viewers. There's data on injury rates in air transportation as an industry, and it's higher than a lot of people assume. Not because pilots are getting hurt in the cockpit all the time, but because the whole system includes ramp work, baggage, ground operations, all of it. And it's a reminder that aviation is still labor. It's bodies, it's fatigue, it's risk. When you hear worker, do you see yourself in that word?
More now than I used to. When I was younger, I wanted to be the cool pilot, the identity, the prestige. You wear the uniform and you think it makes you separate from normal life. Now I'm like, I'm a worker with a specialized job. I have a boss. I have rules. I have a schedule. I have a body that can break. And there's a weird humility in that. It makes me less of a superhero and more of a human being, which is probably healthier.
Let's talk about the part you don't love. The part you feel ashamed of, or you don't like admitting. What's the ugliest version of this job inside you?
The ugliest version is, I can be selfish. Because the job trains you to prioritize yourself in certain ways. Rest, preparation, saying no to things, protecting sleep. Those are good and necessary, but they can turn into, my needs come first, in a family setting. I've snapped at Elena when she's asked for help at a bad time. I've missed things and acted like it's not a big deal because admitting it hurts. And sometimes, I've used the job as an excuse, like, I can't, when the truth is I could, but it would be uncomfortable. That's the part I'm not proud of. The job didn't force all of that. It just gave me a mask I could hide behind.
That's real. How did you and Elena survive that? Because a lot of families don't.
We almost didn't, if I'm honest. There was a period where we were basically coworkers running a household. Short texts, logistics, no softness. We went to counseling and I hated it at first because I wanted a checklist. Like, tell me what to fix. And Elena was like, you don't fix this with a checklist. You fix it by being here. So we made rules, not airline rules, family rules. Like, when I'm home, I do one specific thing every day that proves I'm not just physically present. I walk Sophia to school when I can. I cook breakfast for Mateo and let him help, even though it makes a mess. And Elena has permission to tell me straight up, you're not here, without me getting defensive. That's been hard, and it's been saving us.
I love the idea of family rules as a counterweight to airline rules. Okay, where are you right now today in this story? Because it's easy to end this kind of conversation with a neat bow, and your life doesn't sound neat. It sounds like a decision in motion.
Yeah, it's in motion. Right now I'm at this fork. I can bid for a different fleet, maybe a bigger airplane, more international stuff. The pay can go up, the trips can be cooler, and the status is higher. But it also means longer stretches away, more nights in hotels, more jet lag, more of that quiet loneliness. And Sophia starts middle school soon. That's not a small thing. That's a whole new world for her. She asked me, very casually, if I could be at her first soccer game in the fall. And I told her yes before I even checked my schedule. Because I'm tired of checking my schedule before I answer my child.
That's a powerful line. So the ending of this isn't, and he quit, or, and he got rich, or, and it was all worth it. It's, he's standing in the middle of it, trying to choose what kind of life his money is buying. What do you think you'll choose?
I think I'm going to choose less. That's scary to say because pilots are competitive and the whole culture is upgrade, chase, maximize. But I don't want to maximize my paycheck at the cost of my actual life. I want to be a captain and a dad, not a captain instead of a dad. So I'm leaning towards staying where I can be home more, even if the ego part of me wants the bigger plane. Because I've sat in too many hotel rooms with good money and a bad feeling. And I don't want my kids to grow up thinking that's normal.
For people watching who hear $226,000 and think, come on, that fixes everything, what would you tell them? What's the one thing you wish they understood about what that number costs?
I'd tell them the number is real, but it's not the whole story. Money fixes money problems. It doesn't fix absence. It doesn't fix the look on your kid's face when they stop asking if you'll be there. it also doesn't fix your nervous system. It doesn't buy back sleep. It doesn't buy back a decade of missed Tuesdays. And I'd tell them this: if you're chasing a dream, make sure you're not stepping on the life you wanted the dream for, because that's what I did for a while. I'm grateful, I'm proud, and I'm also learning, late, that real life is the thing you're supposed to protect, not the thing you're supposed to sacrifice to prove you can provide.
Marcus, thank you for saying all of this out loud. Because what I'm hearing isn't pilot job is hard. It's something deeper. It's what happens when a society tells you that a high income is the definition of winning. And then you get the high income and realize the scoreboard didn't include bedtime stories, or health, or being known by the people you love. For everyone watching, if you've ever felt like you're living for your work instead of living your life, I want you to sit with what Marcus just said. Marcus, last question. If you could go back to 25-year-old you, grinding at the regional, sleeping in that sticky crash pad, what would you tell him specifically?
I'd tell him two things. First, don't let the uniform become your personality, because if you do, you'll come home and you won't know who you are without it. Second, practice being present now, not when you make it, because making it doesn't magically give you the skill of being there. Being there is a muscle. If you don't train it, you lose it. I'd tell him to call his mom more, to take more pictures, to stop treating rest like weakness. And I'd tell him straight up, the money will come. The question is whether your family will still feel like your family when it does.
That's the real ending right there. Not a motivational poster. A warning that sounds like love. Marcus Rivera, airline captain, Queen's dad, dream money, and a man trying to make sure his life doesn't pass him on the way to success. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for letting me be honest. And yeah, if anyone watching is in the grind part right now, I'm not here to tell you to quit. I'm just here to tell you to look up once in a while, because the sky is beautiful, and so is your kitchen table. And you don't want to wake up one day and realize you've seen more sunrises at 37,000 feet than you've seen on your own block with your kids. That's what I'm trying to change, while I still can.